On April 28, 1988, Aloha Airlines Flight 243, a scheduled inter-island flight from Hilo to Honolulu, Hawaii, experienced a catastrophic structural failure mid-flight. The Boeing 737-297, carrying 95 passengers and 5 crew members, suffered explosive decompression at 24,000 feet when a large portion of its fuselage ripped away. In a remarkable turn of events, the pilots managed to safely land the severely damaged aircraft at Kahului Airport on the island of Maui, despite flying without part of the aircraft's roof. This incident stands out in aviation history as one of the most incredible examples of pilot skill, aircraft endurance, and survival against overwhelming odds. April 28, 1988, 1:25 p.m. local time, Hawaii. Aloha Airlines Flight 243, a Boeing 737-297, took off from Hilo International Airport, headed for Honolulu, with a planned stop in Maui. The flight was a routine 30-minute trip, typical of the island-hopping service Aloha Airlines provided in the region. About 24,000 feet in the air, 23 minutes after takeoff, while cruising at altitude, passengers and crew heard a loud bang, followed by a rush of wind. The roof section over the forward fuselage ripped open due to structural failure, resulting in explosive decompression. In an instant, a section of the aircraft's fuselage measuring approximately 18 feet long from behind the cockpit to the first-class cabin tore away, exposing passengers to the open sky. Flight attendant sacrifice. The sudden decompression tragically resulted in the death of flight attendant Clarabelle C.B. Lansing, who was standing near the rupture and was instantly sucked out of the aircraft. Despite the violent forces and terrifying conditions, the other flight attendants moved quickly to calm and assist passengers, many of whom were injured by flying debris or exposed to the harsh wind and cold temperatures. Heroic pilot response. Captain Robert Skornsheimer and First Officer Mimi Tompkins immediately responded to the emergency. Skornsheimer, a former U.S. Navy pilot, took control of the situation with remarkable calm. Although the aircraft's forward fuselage and some of the cockpit instruments were severely damaged, the pilots were able to keep the plane under control. Kahului Airport emergency landing. Knowing the plane would not make it to Honolulu, Captain Skornsheimer quickly diverted to Kahului Airport on the island of Maui. He descended the aircraft to a lower altitude to maintain control, flying at a reduced speed while fighting against the powerful forces from the damaged fuselage. They managed to land the crippled aircraft at Kahului Airport 13 minutes later, avoiding what could have been a catastrophic crash. Upon landing, emergency crews quickly assisted passengers, most of whom were in shock but alive. Incredibly, aside from the loss of one flight attendant and dozens of injuries, ranging from minor to serious, 94 passengers and all 4 remaining crew members survived the ordeal. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, launched a detailed investigation to determine the cause of the structural failure. The findings of the investigation revealed multiple contributing factors, primarily related to the aircraft's aging structure and maintenance practices. Fatigue cracks and corrosion. The primary cause of the fuselage rupture was determined to be metal fatigue. The Boeing 737 involved in the incident had been in service for 19 years, completing over 89,000 flight cycles, takeoffs and landings. This high number of cycles made the aircraft more susceptible to fatigue cracks in its aluminum skin, especially in areas prone to stress, such as the joints where sections of the fuselage were riveted together. Investigators discovered that tiny cracks had formed over time and gone unnoticed during routine inspections. These cracks, which were aggravated by exposure to the salt-heavy environment in Hawaii, weakened the fuselage. Eventually, a critical failure occurred at the lap joints, where the aluminum skin was riveted together, causing the explosive decompression. Maintenance and inspection issues. The investigation also pointed to inadequate inspection procedures. Although Aloha Airlines had followed standard maintenance practices at the time, these inspections were not sufficient for detecting the type of metal fatigue that had developed. The cracks were so small that they were difficult to spot using visual inspections alone, particularly in an aircraft that had undergone such frequent takeoffs and landings. The NTSB report also highlighted deficiencies in the maintenance oversight for older aircraft. The structure of the Boeing 737 was designed in an era when it was assumed that aircraft would be retired or undergo major overhauls after fewer flight cycles. Aloha Airlines inter-island routes, with their high-frequency, short-duration flights, put extra stress on the aircraft, accelerating the wear and tear on the fuselage.